Oh, oh, okay. So hopefully, okay, that screen should be pretty, make it a little bigger here, actually. And I'm gonna do the play action. Okay, so welcome to tonight's class on digestive health, nurturing gut health for a flourishing ecosystem. So first off, I want to start off by sharing a little bit about me and why I'm doing these classes. So I graduated as a certified health coach from the Institute of Integrative Nutrition in 2014. This is one of the more common online programs where you can learn different aspects about health coaching and about how to nutrition and different aspects of health and wellness and how to help people change their habits and things like that. I obviously use that information to help myself as well as other people in the time since then. I've also been educating people about essential oils and their role in health ever since 2011. In 2018, I got diagnosed with Hashimoto's, which is an autoimmune condition of the thyroid. Sent me down a whole other rabbit hole of learning a lot about thyroid health, about adrenal glands, about the role that gut health plays in the immune system and all that kind of stuff in order to work on healing myself, which is always still a work in progress, as it always is when you have any kind of an autoimmune condition. Then I also started blogging in about coming on actually even almost 4 years ago, started a podcast called Autoimmune Rehab, which is a mixture of my own short episodes and interviews with other people about their journeys to healing from their autoimmune conditions. So that's a little bit about me. So I always like to share this pyramid with people that talks about some of the different aspects of your overall health and well-being, the wellness pyramid. So you can see these are the different things that impact your overall health. And the one at the very bottom that forms the foundation is nutrition and digestion. So why is that the most important before we come to some of these other things? And that's because the reality is that if you're either not getting proper nutrition, whether that's through diet, and in this day and age, a lot of times it's going to include some kind of supplementation, and if your body is not digesting that properly and you're not, having proper bowel movements and your whole just digestive system and your gut is not working properly, then a lot of these other things are going to just compile and not work because your body really has to have adequate nutrition and you really have to have good digestion and good gut health in order to be able to have these other things work. Because if though that's not working, then more than likely, your movement and your metabolism is going to be off. You're going to struggle to sleep. You're going to have higher stress, and the higher stress is going to impact your gut and your digestive system. And you can't really work effectively on reducing toxicity if you're not already digesting things, and so on and so on and so on. And so good digestion is really the foundation of overall wellness. So here's just another slide about digestive health. And as you can see here in this picture, we've got somebody chopping up a bunch of vegetables, because vegetables are always good for your digestive health. And let's go a little more. So one, the foundational pieces of your digestive health as well is water. And this sometimes surprises people when they learn about this, but the reality is that you need to be drinking a lot of water, and they say, at least 64 ounces a day. In some cases, some people may need more water than that. And if you're having digestive problems, I know for me, when I start having, a little bit of the bloat or whatever, the very first thing that I always go to is, have I had enough water? Do I need to drink more water? And it might sound like super basic, and it is, but the reality is that water is what our bodies are made up, two-thirds of water. And so if we don't have adequate water, that can be a really big problem. In this day and age, a lot of us are drinking too much other drinks, too much things like coffee and energy drinks and sodas and milks and juices and whatever, but we're not getting enough actual water. And I'm a big advocate in most cases, especially if you're having digestive issues, of water being pretty much the only thing you're drinking. So the other thing to also analyze, in addition to are you getting enough water, is how many other drinks are you drinking that are not water? And if it's, more than, I mean, I would say, like I said, if you're having a lot of digestive issues, you probably shouldn't be drinking any. But if it's more than, maybe one glass of something other than water, you really probably want to rethink where you're headed, especially if you are having digestive and gut issues. Drink a little more water there myself. Okay. So fruits and veggies obviously can and should form the main foundation of your diet for good digestive health, making sure that you're getting adequate nutrients. There really is a good reasoning behind where they say to eat the rainbow and eat different things of different colors. I've read a couple articles recently. It's been coming out more and more about how they talk about how too many of us don't get enough variety. Like they say, the average person as a society, we basically only consume things that come from 3 animals and 12 plants. And that's really not enough variety for good digestive health. So I more specifically read about some kind of a girl that did a challenge where she decided she was going to eat things from about 30 different plants or different things over the course of a week to try to help her digestive health. And she talked about how that helped her. And so, instead of getting in the rut habit of, maybe saying, I only want to eat avocados and apples and broccoli or lettuce, to start expanding your world a little bit. And you can use things like sauces and spices and things like that to try to help make it easier for you to digest and for you to want to eat it. But to try maybe even eating one or new fruit or vegetable every once in a while, something that maybe you haven't eaten in the past, maybe you haven't tried it before, but to just really expand your numbers as far as what you eat for diversity and good digestive health, because they say the more and more of different kinds of things that you eat, the more that can really help your digestive and gut health. And 70% of the body's immune system dwells in your digestive tract. So, this is why there is such a strong connection between digestive and gut health and autoimmune conditions. They say that if you have an autoimmune condition, you for sure have a gut and digestive health issue. Now, you could have a gut digestive health issue and not have an autoimmune condition. That is also possible. But if you do have an autoimmune issue, you for sure have some kind of a gut and digestive health issue. And, of course, many autoimmune conditions are based on the gut. So things like celiac disease or Crohn's disease, are specifically autoimmune related to the gut. But even those that are not, like your thyroid issues and lupus, skin issues, MS, things like that, there's something going on in your gut as well that is, if it's not the root cause of it, it's at least making your autoimmune condition worse. And if you get sick a lot as well too, like I would say if you get sick more than once or twice a year, then you really need to reevaluate and take a look at what is going on with your immune system as it relates to your gut. And I don't know why we have another person there. Okay, so then, you can always work on rest and managing your stress, which is always a good idea once your digestive system is, getting a little bit up to par. And all I will say this is if you have got digestive issues already, you've probably noticed that if you don't get adequate rest and if you don't manage your stress, then you can immediately start having more and more gut issues as well. And I know some people, kind of depends for me, I would say a little bit. Sometimes I notice if I get stressed, one of the first things that happens is I start getting kind of like a rash type thing. But other times, you can notice that it goes directly to kind of the upset stomach and can be a direct cause of that. So, one of the things you also want to consider for good digestive health is enzymes. So, another reason to have diversity in your diet is that will help with enzymes, but you also, depending on what you're eating, consuming, that kind of thing, having an actual enzyme supplement can be something that's good. I have a couple specific ones that I have taken, but there are others out there as well. but an actual digestive enzyme supplement can help. And what that does is it helps break down certain things that may be harder on your body to digest. So examples would be things like gluten, which personally, I don't believe that gluten is really very good for your digestive system at all. And if you have an autoimmune condition of any kind, you really shouldn't be consuming it. But so for me, I use it more for like if I'm eating out and I'm worried there's a risk of cross-contamination, meaning I may accidentally get a little bit of gluten, so I'm going to take the enzymes, but I don't purposely ever eat gluten. And then also helping with, can help a little bit with more like lactose intolerance. If you are having a little bit of a minor issue with dairy products, enzymes can help break that down. Can also help break down, like if you're eating a lot of raw foods, which that's kind of a whole nother thing in and of itself. If you have a lot of digestive and gut issues, you want to be really careful that you're not consuming too much raw food because that can be really hard on your digestive system. So you may want to focus probably more on cooking a lot of your food. And also, or anytime you eat out, really, or if you're eating anything in a box, anything that's processed, things like that. And like I said, for me, I used to feel like I needed to eat the enzyme, take some kind of a digestive enzyme with almost every meal. Now I'm to the point that I really only take these when I'm eating out, basically, and traveling, that kind of thing. When cooking at home, I don't need to take them. Okay, so there's a lot of different supplements out there that you can use for different things. Like I said, digestive enzymes are always a really good idea. Probiotics are also another really good one. And, in this day and age, I feel like we pretty much all can benefit from probiotics, but especially if you're having digestive and gut health, there are issues. There's a lot of different ones. There are the biggest thing with probiotics is you want to make sure you're taking one that is actually going to absorb into your digestive system because a lot of them do not. And there's also different kinds. So there's ones that are like refrigerated. So I've had those in the past. A lot of times when I was taking the refrigerated ones, they were actually coming from an acupuncture clinic that had also a doctor there that was prescribing them and I was taking them. And I felt like those were okay, but I feel like the one I take now is the doTERRA PB Restore, so it's double coated, and that outer layer kind of dissolves a little bit as it goes into your stomach, but then it leaves that second layer that actually gets down into your digestive system. And there's a lot of different strains, strengths, things like that. This would be something to either talk to a holistic healthcare provider about, or I have experience with quite a few of the different brands, so you could reach out to me and we can discuss it more. But the whole point is that probiotics are something, especially if you have digestive and gut health, that you really probably should be taking. Okay, yep, and here we go. So here are some of the things about the Probiome 30. So this is specifically about the doTERRA one, but there are lots of other probiotics on the market, and these are some of the more common strains of things that you'll find. So when you're looking at a probiotic, you want to look at the different strains of Lactobacillus and different kinds of things to determine how much strains of the different things are in it. And this is one of those things where the more you have, the better it actually is. Because you want to have, like it says there, this one has 24 probiotic strains from 22 species. You want to have more strains from more species. That said, there are some I am familiar out there that have, maybe even two or three times this many that are more, like your prescription strength type. And that's the kind of thing, you really have to evaluate if you need that because you can do overkill a little bit if you go too far. So just something to think about, but you also don't want to just go take anything and everything you can find or find only the cheapest thing out there either. So you want to make sure that what you're taking is really going to be beneficial and it's really going to help you. And so the other thing to also think about with probiotics, if you have probiotics, there's also what's called prebiotics. And some probiotics will have probiotics and prebiotics mixed in. And then you also have, along with that, I need to move this thing here so that I can try to, let's see, oops, I want to try to go back. Okay, there we go. is the post, and then you have some different things in there. And you can also get, in addition to supplements, you can also get probiotics and prebiotics from foods, but it can be really hard for us, especially in North America and North American culture, to get enough of those things. And the main reason for that is a lot of the foods that contain probiotics are things, so for example, dairy products, which a lot of us, if we have digestive issues, we have issues with dairy products. So actually, it's kind of a little bit of the catch-22 there, because you do find probiotics in a lot of things like yogurt and kefir and that kind of thing, but it does have to be the dairy version. And if you have issues with dairy, then actually eating that, can have the opposite effect on you. And then the other kinds of foods that have like those prebiotics would be a lot of fermented foods. And in some cultures, like specifically things like Japan, Korea, some of the Eastern countries, they eat a lot more of those kinds of foods. Whereas in our culture, in the North America, we don't eat those as much, but they can be really good for you. So things like I mentioned kefir, which actually you can also get a water type kefir that doesn't have dairy in it, but you can also ferment. So things like the fermented cabbage, uh, things like forgetting what that Jap kimchi is another one. Or if you there can also be some like sourdough bread can have some of that as well. Also, you can do things like anything that you can, like pickles, or anything that you can create with kind of like a vinegar type thing. Like I tried once a recipe that I thought was actually pretty good, where I fermented using vinegar some red onions and actually cooked with those for a while, and that was really good. But you get the idea. I mean, you can find different recipes out there for how to create fermented foods. Kombucha can be really good as well too, but you do have to be careful with kombucha, because kombucha can also backfire a little bit because it has kind of higher sugar content. So depending on what other kinds of health issues you have going on, you may or may not want to necessarily take kombucha, but apple cider vinegar as well. So you get the idea, just the idea of trying to do more fermented foods, and that's something that I'm always trying to take more of. Okay, so then the other product, and this is another doTERRA product, is we have PB Assist Probiome Gut Complex. So this has some additional different kinds of probiotics in it. Is basically a strawberry and watermelon flavored, with stevia, so it doesn't have regular sugar in it, and it's like a powder that you can actually add to a smoothie or to like, a yogurt, like a dairy-free yogurt or something like that, to help you get in some of those more of those probiotics as well. And then you can also, the other thing is there's fiber is also really important for your digestive system. This here is the doTERRA version of the fiber powder. You don't necessarily have to use that. I've taken it in the past a little bit, but it's not something I do on a regular basis. But as you can see on the package there, some of the products that are in it are things like flaxseed, artichoke, and apples. Those can be some really good fiber-rich foods. And a lot of us in our modern day society, we don't get enough fiber, and fiber is really important for your gut and digestive health. So the other thing you can also do is Google what foods have the most fiber, and then make a real conscious effort to eat a lot more of those. And like I said, some of the ones that we just mentioned, apples probably being one of the easier and more better tasting ways to get a lot of fiber, because an apple actually tastes pretty good. It's kind of sweet. It can even help satisfy a sugar craving, and apples are some of the highest fiber foods that there are. But you can always take a look at some of the other things that are out there, or you can consider a fiber supplement if you feel like you need even more of it. And there's a little more on it. And then this is the Terrazyme. So this is the doTERRA enzyme product, like I was talking about enzymes before. I personally feel like this is one of the better ones, but there are a few others out there that I've tried as well. If you want to know what those are, you can ask me about those. But yeah, especially when eating out, it's always a really good idea to have those. Then the other thing you can also do is peppermint is also a really good way to help with your digestive system. And I don't know about any of you, but I grew up when I was younger, and my mom would give us peppermint tea every time we had digestive issues, or every time we got a little bit sick. So peppermint tea is a really good option, but it isn't quite as potent as say like a peppermint essential oil. And so there are a couple different ways to use it. You can dilute it with like a carrier oil and rub it over your stomach and digestive issue, your stomach area and your gut, and that can really help. This right here is a way for you to take it internally as a supplement with a peppermint oil capsule type thing. Found that these can work really well, especially if I'm having a really upset stomach. Then this can work even better than, say, rubbing the peppermint oil over drinking the peppermint tea. But all of those can work, and really even not just peppermint, but any kind of mint. So I keep on hand a different kind of a tea that's got like peppermint and spearmint and some other mints mixed in, and that I find is really helpful too to the digestive system. And what else? And a few other products as well designed for the digestive system. Let's see. Yeah, so Digest Zen is another one. This is actually a blend that comes in either a soft gel or an oil. This has some additional things. So besides peppermint, it also has ginger in it. Also has cardamom and I'm trying to remember what else is in it. So that's the other thing too, is ginger is another beneficial thing. And you can, even use rub ginger essential oil over your gut as well to help. Or the other thing is you could also use like a ginger tea. You could potentially even combine peppermint and ginger or something like these soft gels. So, there's also ginger uh, lozenges as well that you can take that can help with digestive issues. So, just peppermint and ginger really being some of the best, fennel as well as another good one to help support your gut if you're having like a little bit of an issue. I find a lot of people that have, like gluten intolerance or celiac or things like that, we use a lot of these, on hand for if they accidentally get gluten. It can be another thing too. So you don't want to, purposely be eating gluten, but if you, accidentally get gluten or have a upset stomach, these can be really good. And then Digest Tabs, this is just kind of like a chewable thing with some peppermint, and I think it's got I forget what else is in it, but it's somewhat of this is one of the least expensive options, way to have a chewable to help with your digestive support system. So these are just some of the different ways. If you are not already a member of doTERRA, these are some of the different things that you can get. There's a lot of different programs to help make it easier to get some of the doTERRA products. And that's something we could have a personal one-on-one discussion a little bit more about. One of the newer things is there is a refer a friend program, which means that you are able to basically get some discount, points and things that you can use for products by referring other people. I'm not going to go into huge detail on it because if that's something you're interested in, you can reach out to me and we have a separate conversation about it. I don't, we don't need to show all that stuff. And yeah, go into more detail about that later. And let me go back actually, and let me. Uh, Yeah, so then the only other thing to keep in mind is that I do actually have a free coaching membership that I offer for people who do make a monthly doTERRA purchase. You can go to essentialwellnesscircle.com and then you can learn a little bit more about what the requirements are for joining my membership. And if you're not sure about that, the best thing is for us to have some questions and a conversation about it. And I have a consultation that you can fill out and go to. Basically, it's just on my homepage on my blog. And if you have any interest at all or want to chat one-on-one about how I can help you, this is where it is on the homepage. Aromatherapy Awakened, free wellness consultation. So you will just, and I do actually offer also a kit with a couple of free samples for people that are qualified, but you do need to schedule an actual appointment and show up, and we need to have an actual conversation first before I'm going to give it to you. But you get the idea. You can schedule that conversation. Also, this is a really good resource as I do publish, like blog posts and transcripts for my podcast, as well as you can see this is one on sweet potatoes, but I publish a lot of recipes. Today I just published one on what's the difference between a nutritionist and a health coach. So lots of different things like that. I have a free webinar you can watch on how to overcome autoimmune fatigue and reset yourself. Also, other freebie on daily routines and things like that to help you improve your overall health and well-being. So this can be a really good resource for you. And that's really the end of the actual presentation. So if you have any questions, I'm going to stop the recording for right now. And if you have any questions, you can ask them now.